Back to under.
What's up, y'all?
I'm Kaiser. It's Jamal, the angry black fan.
What's up, man? How
Hello,
you doing, sir?
nothing really to be angry about this week.
Nah,
Unless you're a Canes fan.
Well, no,
I mean, yeah, I'm angry about that. Yeah.
Well, Charlotte FC lost a heartbreaker last night.
See, I'm gonna give Charlotte FC leeway until like season 4.
I got you.
Okay, because that's okay. By season 4, you need to start.
And I'm not that angry because they were on a 3-match winning streak.
That's true. Yeah.
Nashville's like the hottest team in the MLS right now. Look at me looking like I know something about.
I know, right? I'd be like, okay, yeah. Where's your kit? Not wearing your kit.
I'm too fat for it, man. We gonna get there. We're talking about that. Anyway, man, I'm not that mad at Charlotte FC because, like I said, Nashville is a hot team. One of the best players in MLS scored a very clutch goal in the last minutes of the match. So I'm not that mad at Charlotte FC, but the Canes are breaking my heart, bro.
I'll give the Canes a pass on game 1 because 4 overtimes, it got to the point where whoever won, it was just going to be a fluke.
It was a battle of attrition.
Yeah, it was going to be a fluke, and the Canes made a crucial mistake. I think it was 14 seconds left, and they were just, mentally fatigued. And the reverse of the puck in their own zone ended up killing them. But game 2, I mean, they skated well. They're good on the forecheck, good defensively. They had 10 more shots on goal, and they just couldn't. I don't know. I'm
gonna tell you one thing I noticed about the Canes. Whenever the Canes score first, I always have a great feeling about the Canes. Like whenever they get the first 1 or 2 goals, like we're straight.
Yeah,
that wasn't the case last night.
No.
Man. Hey, look, I always say this. It's okay to give credit to the
other team. Florida. I mean,
Florida's a damn.
Look at what they've done in the playoffs. Look at the teams that they've knocked off, and if they knock off the Canes, this will be a super historic Stanley Cup run. I mean, it's just crazy. And really, they're out skating the Canes most of the time. They're fast. Right. They be flying up and down the ice, and sometimes the Canes get a little too cute trying to match that. I also think having Ranta in goal, I know that Anderson was tired from game 1, but Florida had a big gamble by keeping their goalie from game 1 in goal in game 2, thinking, okay, if we can steal a second one on the road, he can rest at home, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're the hockey guy here. Isn't Ranta like kind of maligned amongst Canes fans? Wasn't he?
Yeah,
it's kind of like
but he played well last season though. That was one of the things is that a lot of people feel like the Canes have goalie, like we don't have an elite goal. Even Anderson is considered like a cast off, right? And the Canes, despite how successful they've been, I'll say they've never had an elite goalie. Cam Ward,
which is kind of crazy.
You're right, yeah. Cam Ward was like the closest they got. He was an all-star, but even then, you couldn't put him up there with like the Patrick Wall and the other guys of his time. Right. So, that continues now, and I don't think it was Ranta's fault that they lost at all, but I just think that was a bold gamble by Florida not to rest their goalie in game 2.
I'm not the hockey expert, but I know it's probably hard to win a hockey game when you don't score more than 1 goal. So there's that.
Yeah.
All right, enough of that.
Enough Canes.
We know why you're here.
Yeah. Although if the Canes lose, we're gonna be on that ass.
Right.
So Thursday night was a interesting night for the Charlotte Hornets. Those of you who joined us that night, we had some interesting things to say in response to the Charlotte Hornets getting the number 2 pick in the draft.
The bridesmaid once again.
Missing out on another super generational talent. Like always.
It's just what it is at this point, man.
Like always. There was an interesting graphic by, I think maybe ESPN, showing who the Hornets missed out on each time they got the number 2 pick.
Right.
We missed out on Shaq. We missed out on Dwight Howard. We missed out on Anthony Davis. And we missed out on Wemby. And a lot of people say, well, we got Alonzo Mourning. And
hey, no slouch.
Don't get me wrong. Alonzo Mourning, Hall of Famer, outstanding player during the short time he was here relative. But he wasn't Shaq.
He wasn't Shaq.
I mean,
he wasn't four championships.
Yeah, he didn't win a championship until he played with Shaq. Right.
Right.
So
I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Until he backed up Shaq.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, the curse continues, right?
It just is what it is.
But
man. Hey, look, Kaza, I got some good news. Hey, I'm coming into acceptance. You know how you grieve? You're really emotional and it's hard. I'm at the acceptance stage right now, man. I'm better than I was Thursday.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of people feel like, and we're going to discuss this more in depth because I somewhat disagree and agree with this sentiment that not getting the number one pick was the best thing for the Hornets because now we have a generational talent that will essentially fall into our lap in Scoot Henderson and maybe Brandon Miller.
Well, it was going to fall into our lap with the number one pick, but never mind.
Exactly. Let's move on. I get what they're saying. Like, okay, so we didn't get Wemby, but I mean, Scoot is a lot of people feel like Scoot would have been the consensus number one if Wemby hadn't been in this draft.
Right.
And all of that may be true.
I feel a however coming on.
However. So I posted this thing in the Hornets group, and it was quotes from Michael Kidd-Gilchrist scouting reports pre-draft.
Right.
And the things they were saying about him just sound awfully familiar from the things that I'm hearing.
Don't do this
about Scoot. Now, I'm not saying that Scoot is Michael Kidd-Gilchrist.
Please don't do this, guys.
I'm going to do it. I'm not saying that Scoot is Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, but what I'm saying is that whenever I hear about a guy who is that hyped and he's not the number one pick,
it gives you pause.
It gives me pause. Okay. Because
fair
if he was that good,
he'd be the number one pick.
There would be a debate, right?
Right.
Now, there was no debate between Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. There just was no debate. Just like there's no debate between Victor Wembanyama
and whoever else
and Scoot Henderson, right? To me, there's no debate, right? We know who the Spurs are going to pick. But it's like, okay, but that second guy is really, really, really good. And when I hear the term generational thrown around,
mm-hmm.
I don't like that because I reserve that for players who at whatever level they were at before the NBA were too dominant for that level.
Right.
Think about Kevin Durant at Texas.
Oh,
y'all ever seen that guy's stats, his college stats?
Look, I saw the man play.
Right, yeah.
I try to tell people about that dude when he was at
Texas.
It
was clear. It was clear.
He was a man amongst boys.
Yes, he was going to come into the NBA and be dominant. Shaquille O'Neal, y'all remember this guy in college?
Well, we're old, so
right. Yeah, LeBron James. It was in high school. It was like he don't have no business playing against these dudes, right?
These little boys. Yeah,
I don't see that in Scoot. Scoot isn't even. He's not even dominant in the G League. He's very, very good, but he's not like. He's not like those guys were at their respective levels. So I give pause to the generational argument.
I got you. Here's the counter argument. Here is the counter argument when it comes to dominance in the G League, because that's an excellent point, guys. I don't argue anything about that. But you know what these GMs draft players on? You want to say it with me? Potential,
yes,
right?
Yes,
right. Okay. There were, I mean, let's name a couple of guys who were not so dominant in college who, and look, I will say there's very few, okay, just to keep it a buck. There are players out there who were not so dominant at a certain level who became really good NBA players once they were drafted, because sometimes you get it right. I will say this, in my personal opinion, with Scoot Henderson in the G League. The G League is kind of an anomaly. You get what I'm saying? The G League is kind of this different thing that we're probably still not used to just yet. Like the college level, it is very, very, to me, in my opinion, it is very easy to pinpoint the man amongst boys in college.
Right.
In the G League, it's a little more competitive. You understand what I'm saying? And the fact that these GMs are scouting these guys on potential makes it a little harder to kind of pinpoint, all right, that guy's going to be dominant. Now, one kind of argument I will make, and this is getting thrown out a lot, is the game where Victor and Scoot played each other, all right? And I didn't watch the game, unfortunately, but everybody talks about the game, always talks about how Scoot and Wemby were right there, like as far as how they impacted that particular game. Now,
I'll disagree because I watched the game, but
I'll defer because I didn't watch it.
I understand what people are saying.
Right. I say all that to say with Scoot, we're looking at a guy like his athleticism is elite. I don't think anybody will argue that, right? I think his explosiveness and his athleticism is already elite on the NBA level. Nobody's going to argue that. I think GMs will look at that and they'll say, you know what? We can work with this kid. Rumor has it that he's working with Steph Curry's shot coach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rumor has it that you know, he may not be the best shooter now, but they feel like they can mold him into one. So I say all that to say, man, if the Hornets go ahead and pull that trigger, I don't know how mad I am if they go ahead and do that now. Do I think Brandon Miller's still a better fit for this team? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. I still think Brandon Miller's a better fit for this team on the basketball court, but we'll talk about the other stuff later.
All right, okay?
Yeah. Talent-wise, potential-wise, I can see the argument. I can see it.
Yeah. I just the whole generational, like, hey, no, this guy's No, I don't see it. Case in point, y'all know what James Bouknight averages in the G League?
Yeah, he's like
28 points a game.
He's like incredible in the G
League. Yeah, he goes in the G League, and he's clearly too dominant for that league. So the Hornets always call him back up, right?
Right.
If I would assume a generational talent player would be that dominant in the G League, like, okay, clearly you're NBA ready, but you're not even, you play the same position as Bouknight and you're not even as dominant as he is.
I think that goes back to my argument with the G League stuff because it's so complicated, man, because the G League is not very structured.
That is correct.
You understand what I'm saying?
I agree with that.
It's not very structured and you're not really playing NBA level basketball. You're pretty much you're a bunch of really good guys out there playing pickup games.
Yeah. Those of y'all that have watched the G League game, it feels like a high level YMCA run. So yeah, I understand that, and I do feel that same way about Scoot. It's the G League is too tough to. I feel like it's a lot harder to tell potential from someone who went from high school to the G League.
Right.
But having said that, though, and this is a super plus for Scoot, playing in the G League, I feel like you are playing against a higher level of talent than you would be in college.
No doubt.
Okay, so Scoot has played 2 whole seasons for G League Ignite, and so he's playing against essentially NBA caliber bodies.
Yeah,
he's playing against these are professional basketball players.
Right.
These are not college dudes. So I feel like just like with LaMelo Ball, playing pro before you go to the next pro level is a huge, huge advantage, and I think the Hornets are going to look very heavily at that. I think that will factor heavily into their decision.
I don't think that's a bad thing, quite honestly, man. I think, if you want to evaluate and you feel like you're getting a good pro, you kind of see him on somewhat of a professional level. Because I just said the G League ain't the NBA, obviously, right? But at least you get to see how they stack up physically and athletically against NBA talent. At least you can get that much out of them. You know what I mean?
Let me ask you this, because Drell asked in the chat, what kind of package do they need to trade down? Should the Hornets look at trading down?
All right.
If they can get a whole lot.
See, this is one of those questions that's complicated for me to answer. Now, I'll tell you why. Because I truly feel like you have to be in the building every day to answer that question. Here's what I mean by that. You got to do your homework. Mm-hmm. Because if Mitch Kupchak feels like, hey, whether it's Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmire, whatever, whoever these 2 coveted players are, he has to feel like, you know what, these 2 guys have just as much value as who I would get at number 2. If your homework tells you that answer, why not? Why not trade down and get 2 picks? But if you're looking at number 2, he's like, nah, there's nobody on the board that has more value than this guy. You got to stay put, man.
Yeah, If you feel like, and the Hornets have not tipped their hand on this, but if you feel like Scoot is going to be the next Dwayne Wade, Russell Westbrook, well, then obviously you draft him.
You draft him and you keep him. Yeah.
But if you're like, well, he's going to be a very good NBA player,
why not go get 2 very good NBA players?
There you go. Yeah. Right. So that's the argument here. And a lot of people feel like Scoot will be the next.
Will be that guy.
Russell, I will say this, though. I hate that his highlights in the film, which it's hard to find film. And when I say there's a difference between film and highlights. Right?
YouTube is not film, y'all.
Right. Yeah. Film is kind of boring in comparison. Right. But so far, everything I've seen is like dunks and drive to the basket, which, I mean, that's great because the Hornets only maybe have one or two guys that can do that. Right. LaMelo and then, Miles Bridges, maybe.
Right.
So to have another guy that can attack the basket is good. But if that's all you can do, the NBA, guys in the NBA will shut that down. That's just not going to, unless you have Ja Morant level athleticism, which Scoop, he doesn't quite have that level of athleticism,
close, but not maybe quite.
But he's good enough to attack the basket. And then there's the knock about his shooting. He only shot 27% in the G League. There have been a lot of cases. LaMelo Ball shot 25% in the NBL.
And he's turned himself into a pretty damn good 3-point
shot
shooter.
Almost 40% last season. I think he can be a good shooter. The thing is that the Hornets are going to need him to be a good shooter. I know a lot of people feel like, no, we need someone that can attack the basket.
No, we don't.
If your two guard can't shoot,
that makes your job. We've been there before.
Yes, that's exactly my point. Yep.
And our offense was stuck in the mud when we had a guy who couldn't shoot from three.
Yes, you got to have guys that can stretch the floor.
Y'all remember Gerald Henderson? Y'all remember Gerald Henderson and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist being on the floor together?
Jeremy Lamb.
Look, man, Gerald Henderson made Jeremy Lamb look like Larry Bird, dude. That dude couldn't shoot for nothing. We don't want that again. We don't want to go down that road again, man.
Yeah. But having said that, so during the Thursday broadcast, we said that we felt like Miller was probably the right pick.
Right.
But over the next few days or the last few days, doing more research and discussing, I think that Scoot will probably be the pick.
Yeah.
And the main reason why, though, is attitude.
Yeah.
Scoot is all about the action.
Why do you steal my thunder every week?
Because we've known each other for 16, 17 years. Yeah. So Scoot is all about the action. He got that Mamba mentality. I can see it. He gonna be in while the Hornets are at sex parties. He's at the gym. Don't think we forgot about the sex parties. We didn't forget. Miles Bridges coming back. Well, yeah. LaMelo, buddy.
Boy back. Yes, sir.
But yeah, he gonna be in the gym. And given what we know about about Miller's past, I don't even want to say past. I mean, this was like months ago, right?
Right. And look, and some of the recent news that has come out on Brandon Miller is not very encouraging at all.
Yep.
Quite honestly,
underwhelming in interviews.
Yeah, called not as in shape as he should be. I saw a report about that.
Yeah, I
don't like any of that, man.
And I think we don't know. There's always going to be debate about how much input Michael Jordan has into the draft process or talent or whatever.
Let me say something to that real quick, and because look. We've always kind of questioned, the narrative about Michael Jordan and how much input he has on drafting players. I will give people some rope here. I'm going to give y'all a little bit of, and when I say y'all, I mean the MJ narrative guys.
Right.
I do 100% believe that if it comes down to any character flaws or character issues, MJ's probably like, hell no. I will bet my house that if something else comes out about Brandon Miller, MJ will staunchly say, we can't have that again.
No, yeah.
I saw this man's expression last season during that Orlando Magic game where he was just like, I'm fed up. Yes. You understand what I'm saying? I don't think MJ can stomach any more character issues with this team. If it's one thing I know about Michael Jordan, he does not like or he has issues with players who don't fully love and dedicate themselves to the game.
Absolutely.
I think we all can agree with that, right?
Absolutely.
So any signs of going back down that road with character issues and all this other stuff, I think MJ's like, look, Mitch, we can't do this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's why Scoot will probably be the pick.
Same.
Regardless. Or maybe they trade down. But I think the things that Scoot has been saying publicly, I think Michael Jordan is hearing that and it's like, oh yeah. That's the guy.
I think I like this
right,
guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Of course the question is, how does he fit?
Right.
And someone now, JC says that,
and that's a really, really valid question, quite honestly.
Scoot is Dennis Smith Jr.
He's better than Dennis.
I think he's better than Dennis Smith. But when Dennis Smith came out and came into the league, I mean, he was pretty good, right? He just had a bit of a drop off, and he seems to have found a home in Charlotte. Hopefully, he sticks around. But a lot of people will say, fit be damned. You've got to, if you got a guy with that level of potential, then you have to restructure your team to make him fit.
Right.
Which, in the case of the Charlotte Hornets, I don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. But the question is, how much of a step back do they take? I don't care what anybody out there in internet land says. If the Hornets are healthy last season, they're a playoff team. They're not even a play-in team. They're probably a legit 5th, 5 or 6 seed without all of those injuries.
Right.
So the trajectory is where we need it to be. If we start restructuring the team to fit Scoot, who may or may not be a good fit, where's that gonna put us?
So here's my, I don't want to say a simple solution because we know it's not simple. we definitely know it's not simple because the main question the main question out of the last week or so is how will LaMelo and Scoot fit with each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a bad fit because word has it that LaMelo's been wanting to play more off the ball anyway.
A lot of people don't know this. LaMelo played 54% of possessions off the ball his rookie season.
And his catch and shoot ain't bad.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Like he's not a bad catch and shoot guy at all. And on top of that, I know I don't like revisionist history, but let's take a look back to when Tony Parker was here. Tony Parker was on the court with Kemba Walker a lot.
In fact,
a lot.
Crunch time,
they were on the floor. They were every fourth quarter they were on the floor together. And guess what?
It worked
out pretty damn well. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I'm not as trigger shy as to let LaMelo and Scoot work together. I'm just not, man. And and if it comes down to it, of course there's a question of, hey, what do you do with Terry? You do what you have to do. That's my simple answer to that. If you feel like you need to put him on the block and trade him, go for it.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm just gonna prepare Hornets fans. If Terry Rozier is not moved in the offseason, and I think I'd say it's a coin flip that he is. Right. But if he's not, Scoot's not gonna start until after the trade deadline.
And
y'all might as well.
The torches are gonna come out too, buddy.
Get it out your system. If Terry Rozier is on the Hornets roster day one, he's starting every game until after the trade deadline because he'll probably be gone.
I'll tell you this much. Let's go ahead and say they draft Scoot, right? I think it's a very good sign if they move Terry. You know why? Because that will let me know we believe in this dude so much we can't sit him on the bench.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
They're not going to do the Mark Williams Plumlee thing again.
And look, we have to address this too, man. We have to address this because if they do go the route of draft of Scoot Henderson, there's a big log jam at the wing. There's Martin, there's Bouknight, there's McGowan's, there's Dennis, presumably because we don't know if he's going to resign.
But see, I think you could package Terry up with one of those guys, and a team will buy it.
Absolutely.
You package Bouknight with Terry Rozier. Do you think a team won't bite on that?
Yeah.
Phoenix is supposedly very interested. The Clippers supposedly very interested in Rozier. A lot of teams want Rozier. He's a legit 20 point a game scorer. He's not afraid of anything.
Right.
He just
look. If the Hornets really want to swing the bat, if they really want to make the splash in the offseason that all the Hornets fans are coveting, they say, what y'all want for Hayward and Rozier? And really get something back. Because there's very big value in Gordon Hayward's contract. You understand what I'm saying? Maybe not as a player, but as a contract, and you get a guy like Rozier putting them on a contender somewhere. I'm just saying.
We'll see what magic Mitch works. This is an interesting take. We'll get to that. Let's go to Prahlad.
What's up, P?
Do you think the NBA is holding a grudge against Michael Jordan?
Let me answer this first, because I know you'll have a very interesting answer. So let me go first, man. Prillard, I'm somebody who tries to believe that the lottery is not rigged and it's fair and it's random. I try to believe all the stuff that the NBA sells us on when it comes to the lottery. Oh man, we just don't have the luck. It just is what it is. But when I keep seeing stuff that makes too much sense, it gives me pause for question. Like, what's the better story? Take winning and all this other stuff out of the equation. What's the better story? Victor going to Charlotte or Coach Pop getting to Coach Victor? What's the better national story here? So I say that to say, Prillard, like when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, but here's my counter question to your question. Why would the NBA have a grudge against Michael Jordan, the guy who really saved that damn league?
Yeah.
Because if anything, they should be like, wow, thank you for saving our asses. Let's give you something. So it's a complicated answer from me, man. I don't know where I stand on that, quite honestly, dude.
So as far as the draft goes, I've always maintained this. What benefit is it to the NBA to have the draft really random?
Right.
Like, it is of no benefit. It's more of a benefit to have LeBron James, the greatest prospect of all time, play in his hometown, a team that has been in sports purgatory for the previous 50 years. Right? That's way more beneficial to the NBA than LeBron going to literally any other team.
Right.
That's not a big market team. So that's why it's just hard for me to believe the ping pong balls.
Yeah.
They always just seem to work out.
Like the story seems like it's written all the time,
right? Right. And it's like when it does work out, when the balls do fall in our favor, it's always a down draft year. I think about 2014 when we drafted Cody Zeller.
Right.
And that was such a disheartening draft because
there was a weak draft.
I don't really care what anybody says. Zeller was probably the best pick at number 4. He was
at that time. Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at every draft and you say, well, the Hornets passed on such and such. Who did we pass on?
That y'all thought was going to be good,
right?
Because what somebody's going to say. Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Don't
do it.
Don't
do it.
That
don't do
count.
it. Don't do it.
That don't count.
Because nobody in the free world thought that dude was going to be as good as he was. So we don't want to hear that. Yeah.
So yeah. As far as the counter argument, this makes me think that the NBA and Michael Jordan have some kind of past beef we don't know about, and I'm wondering if it's related to buying the Bobcats,
right?
Or being in the front office in the Washington Wizards and saying, you know what, fuck this, y'all suck. I'm putting back on the uniform.
Right.
I don't think the NBA, although it was great for them to have Michael Jordan back,
it boosted their ratings.
It did, but I don't think they like that from a
former player.
Right. The optics were kind of weird.
The optics were weird.
Admittedly.
Listen, if we keep it in the buck, it was a little selfish.
It was.
Because you're like working in a capacity where you're front office executive and you're like, you know what? Y'all are not that important. I want to go play because I want to go play. That probably didn't look too good.
Yeah, I don't think the NBA like that at all. Yeah. And then to come in and not just buy the Bobcats, but there's a lot of speculation about how much Michael paid for the Bobcats. But from what I understand, it was no more than $150 million. Like literally Michael Jordan wrote a check that cleared that day for the Charlotte Bobcats. You're talking about a franchise or any NBA franchise would have, nowadays are worth billions of dollars. And this was this wasn't even 10 years after the NBA had awarded us the Bobcats.
Right.
So part of me thinks that might have something to do with it. I don't know.
Who knows?
And one last thing before we move on. Michael Jordan, as much as I love and defend Michael Jordan, he's never been the best ambassador of the NBA. Compare him to, and I know that LeBron James is in the social media era.
Right. Where everything is seen.
Right.
Right.
But having said that, I feel like LeBron James has taken advantage of being in the spotlight to be an ambassador for the game of basketball in the NBA.
Right.
Through his activism, through his pop culture presence, things like that.
Right.
Michael Jordan never did that. And even though we know that on the back end, Michael Jordan did a lot of activism, giving money.
He was never in Front Street.
He was it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know that Michael Jordan funded the African American History Museum in Washington, D.C., or he was one of the main funders of it. But nobody knew that. He did it in the background. He was never.
Which you bring up a good point. This is something that's just popping up to my head. I've said this 100,000 times. I'm gonna say it again. When Michael Jordan first bought the Bobcats, I remember this quote like it was yesterday. Okay, he said something to the effect of, "I don't want to be the show pony for this team," meaning I don't want everything to be about me when it comes to talking about this team.
Right.
Which was never a possibility. That was never, ever going to be a possibility. Yeah. So to your point, Kaiser, I don't think the NBA like that because they know if you make everything, look, Kaiser, we know what gets clicks.
Oh yeah.
We know what gets clicks. We know what gets the news circulating. Not the little old basketball team in Charlotte, Michael Jordan's team. Every time ESPN talks about the Charlotte Hornets, it's not just the Charlotte Hornets. MJ's team, the Charlotte Hornets, MJ's team, the Bobcats. We know what gets people talking and gets people clicking. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And I don't. And because Michael is who he is, and he it's so crazy saying this. One of the most famous people in the world wants to play the background. He never wants to be in Front Street about anything other than basketball.
Yep.
And I don't think, and the NBA is like, no, dude, we need you to be the face.
Exactly. No, yep, I'll buy that. I'm gonna swoop back up. Swagner had a good question. If Terry and Gordon are moved, do we need any more veterans on the team, or is DSJ good enough?
I think so. Yes, I'm gonna say unequivocally.
I think you have to resign DSG and you have to resign Kelly Oubre. Absolutely. I feel like Kelly Oubre is the priority.
Same.
FA signing,
been saying it.
Even over PJ, over anybody else. You got to re-sign Kelly Oubre. You got a guy who can give you 20 points a game, 15 off the bench. He likes Charlotte. He wants to be here. Pay the man.
And on top of all that, man, the main reason I've been saying Kelly and DSJ is because of their attitude. Like just from observing what happened last season. Those guys are competitive, man, and they don't like how last season transpired. You need those guys on that team.
You need those guys. I think you could get DSJ for kind of cheap too. I feel like he wants to be here.
Right.
He feels like the Hornets gave him a second chance.
But look, it ain't gonna be too cheap because he took a really, really, really cheap deal. I mean, I'm talking like dirt cheap, unguaranteed money too.
You gotta pay him something.
But look, I ain't saying give the dude $12 million a year. That's not what I'm saying. But it's gonna be a little more than $1 million.
I just think you need a good backup point guard.
Yeah.
And as much as I really like all the guards that we have on this team,
right?
I don't feel like any one of them fill that role quite as well as Dennis Smith Jr. does.
Right.
Especially from on the defensive end.
Absolutely.
And he does a good job of, there's no, when the subs come in for both teams, okay, that's when the real game begins.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So what's that gap look like especially if you're not as good as the other team?
Right.
And when Dennis Smith Jr. is out there, I feel like that gap is lessened.
No doubt.
Because he plays good defense.
Right.
Always has a good box plus minus.
Yep.
I feel like that's a good thing. And the Hornets should try and capitalize on it instead of sticking Bryce McGowan's behind LaMelo or something to that effect.
Right. Now, I want to speak to the point of just veterans in general, man, because the one fair criticism that I've always agreed with is having that alpha dog on that team that's going to hold people accountable. I think the Hornets desperately need that. This is not me being overly critical of Gordon Hayward, but I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's the guy that's going to get in your face and be like, yo, man, you need to tighten up and do whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we need more of an expressive guy on that team that's really
true. I think Rozier was maybe the closest we had to that, but here's part of the problem. A guy like LaMelo Ball is such a big He's not a big personality, but I mean that like as far as pop culture is concerned,
no doubt.
LaMelo Ball is like he's a star. He was a star before he came to the Hornets, right? So how do you get in his face and be like, dog, we had 22 seconds on the shot clock.
Why are you shooting from 35 feet?
Right. Yeah. What are you doing?
Right.
I think only a veteran could maybe,
no doubt,
bring that kind of presence.
Hey, look, he's not a player anymore, but bring Charles Oakley back on the bench. That'll fix all that.
So someone says PJ and Miles is a priority, not Kelly O. I'm going to tell you this right now. You let PJ Washington walk. You let him go off into the sunset.
I think if it comes down to it, you got to. Here's my fear. And, I mean, it's neither here nor there. But I really fear PJ will go to a contender and ball the hell out. And we'll be like, damn, we let that guy go.
Well, he should have done that here.
I agree with that. I agree. My point is that Brother Vince made a good point. Shout out to Vince Dunlap if you're out there watching. But he made a damn good point over the weekend. Are we letting guys walk a little too early? Like, doesn't PJ deserve a second contract?
Here's the problem.
Go ahead.
We are Charlotte, and everyone knows that you can fleece us for more money.
Right.
Y'all, everyone, Michael Jordan's cheap. That is not true. That is a big lie.
Yeah.
You could get a lot of money from the Hornets. This is why PJ Washington's people came out and
said $20 million.
Said they want $20 million.
Which ain't no way in hell
you do not pay PJ Washington $20 million a year. You just do not do that. I think 15 is the cap. That's what I would pay for. I'd offer PJ Washington 15 and then say, hey, go test the market. And if another team wants to pay him 18 to 20 million, then by all means, you do it. If PJ was saying, hey, I'm looking for like the 16, 17 mil range, okay, you work with that.
Right.
But 20 million, the problem is that he's been too inconsistent for that kind of money.
Right.
Unlike the last guy we paid that much, Terry Rozier.
Right.
Terry was super consistent. In fact, Terry's numbers have improved every year he's been a Hornet since the Kemba Walker trade. So with PJ, I think he has improved. He was asked to do some things that were, he had to play the 5.
Yeah.
He had to do a lot of things. But $20 million?
That's steep.
Y'all argue about Terry. Yo, we got to get rid of Terry's contract, but we're gonna pay PJ $20 million.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
I will say this: letting PJ walk. Now we have an issue with size up front.
Right.
How do we shore that up?
Because now you definitely got to stick Miles back at 4 if we talking that, and I don't know if that's ideal.
Well, you know what? His numbers are better at the 4, and I think that's because he's able to take advantage of bigger slower,
right.
Power forwards.
But defensively, is that ideal?
Especially if we trade Gordon Hayward, then you got to slide.
Then you got to slide
back to the 3,
right?
Or you can keep him at the 4, and then who plays the 3?
Kelly could play 3.
Kelly could play the 3.
Yeah,
and then you got Scoot, Mello, Kelly, Mark Williams, Miles.
Not bad.
I
can live with that.
I could live with that.
I think
that's good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But see, if you had Victor, you could put Victor at the 4.
Oh my God!
No, I'm sorry, never. But let's move on, man. I'm sorry.
It's just gonna kill me. Here's real quick on that. I don't like to see anyone in any sport get injured, of course.
Right.
But wouldn't it be something if this ended up being a Zion Ja situation?
I'm glad you brought that up.
Like,
man, that is the comparison that is getting thrown around so much. Zion and Ja. Man, let me speak to that real quick. I never ever like assuming players are going to get injured. I don't care if they have the quote unquote injury prone tag on their name. I never like just assuming, because people are just kind of assuming Victor may go that route because of the way he's built. Like, I'm already seeing Chet Holmgren comparisons. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know that. You know what I mean? So
I know that injuries seem more. I don't know if this is true. I gotta look at the data. But
big guys tend to get foot injuries.
Yeah, injuries seem more prevalent in today's NBA. And I don't know why exactly that is. So I mean, everyone gets injured, but what's the impact of those injuries.
Right.
With a guy like Zion, and I'm not even sure if it's all physical, just from some of the things that he was saying. I think some of it is.
I think that's another conversation. Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
So it's going to be the availability of Wemby is going to be interesting because he'll get his NBA body eventually.
Right.
But I mean, his rookie season, he's going to have to.
Hey man, I'm about to say something very cynical. This is just my cynical side coming out. You know what's going to piss me off? The minute Wemby gets like a little injury and they start sitting him out, and it starts being a pattern, and he starts sitting him out, and you start looking at him like, is he really that hurt? And then the damn Spurs end up with another damn lottery pick next year. I'm really going to throw a side eye to that, man, because the Spurs are sneaky. Like they are sneaky. Because I said something this weekend, and it started to make a little more sense once I start verbalizing out more. Kawhi Leonard, Jakob Poeltl, Lonnie Walker, help me out, DeJounte Murray, they pretty much just kicked the tires on all these dudes in the last 6 seasons, right?
And then was like, yeah.
You think they didn't know Big Guy was coming out?
Well, we know from pictures that Wemby has been a Spurs fan his entire life.
And then that comes out. Tony Parker just happens to have a picture of Victor Wembanyama as a kid with a Spurs jersey on.
Yeah.
The next time somebody says, hey, man, this stuff is scripted, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm just like, hey, man. Yeah.
One last Hornets thing before we talk about the NBA playoffs as a whole. Miles Bridges posted something on social media.
He can't help himself.
Where he was either FaceTiming or some kind of teleconference with Michael Jordan.
Right.
And he just posted chopping it up with my boy.
I thought Michael didn't care. I thought Michael didn't. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what people told me.
So how much should we? I mean, the writing seems to be on the wall that Miles Bridges is going to be a Hornet next season.
Man, I think that was the final nail in the coffin right there, bro.
Right. Yeah.
If the damn owner is chopping it up with you, so to speak, it lets you know you probably wants you to come back.
I think so too.
Yeah.
The question is, who has all of the leverage in these negotiations?
Hornets should have all the leverage.
You would think that, but Miles Bridges is an unrestricted free agent because he didn't play last season.
Right, which is kind of unfair, but
it is unfair, but that's the rule.
It is what it is, yeah.
So I think there are a lot of teams that would like to take Miles Bridges. You think he wouldn't want to be a Detroit Piston? I mean, everyone wants to play for their childhood team.
Right.
You think there are a lot of teams that would throw money at him?
A lot of it.
I mean, what could the Hornets realistically pay him? Because, okay, so, but before all the legal stuff, there was a conversation about whether or not we should pay him max.
Right.
But
which I don't agree with.
And I don't think the Hornets would have offered it, and he couldn't have gotten max from any other team.
Right.
Now, he could get max now from any team.
That's the scary part.
I don't think any team will offer him max because they're going to bring up, hey, we're taking on a big, thing here from an optic standpoint.
We got PR stuff to work out. Yeah.
So where does that leave the Hornets?
Right.
Now we have bird rights on them. We could go over the cap. The cap is not really a concern when it comes to Miles Bridges' contract, but it's value.
Right.
Like, how much do we pay the guy?
So my answer to that question is I don't think a lot has changed from last year, because last year, we say it all the time, man. The priority was re-signing Miles Bridges. That hadn't changed this year. Okay, that hasn't changed much. If I'm Miles Bridges and I'm his camp, what am I realistically trying to do? Like if I'm Miles Bridges' agent, what am I realistically trying to do? And am I looking at what happened last year and how your guy, when I say your guy, I mean Miles Bridges' agent, your guy wrecked our offseason last year. Let's keep it a buck. Let's just call it what it is. Okay. Am I giving hometown discount because of that? Not only just because of what's the word I'm looking for, out of any type of morality, because of what you said. Other teams are looking at the same thing the Hornets are. Like, they got to be, right? If you're a GM, you got to look at that stuff and say, do I really want those issues on my squad as well? So with that being said, I mean, I would hope there is some type of loyalty amongst Miles to say, you know what?
The Hornets stuck with him for
that's my point.
And this is one thing no one will ever brings up about the Hornets because it's not the cool thing narrative, to be positive about the Hornets. But they stick by their guys when they shouldn't.
Right.
I mean, going all the way back to the PJ Harrison days, they stick by their guys, and they've stuck by Miles through this whole process because they believe in him, just like they did Malik Monk. Malik Monk can say all day he was going crazy in Charlotte, but they stuck with him. They, after he failed the drug program the second time, they could have cut him. Right. They could have waived him and saved
money.
Yeah, $3 million a year. But so like you said, maybe there'll be some loyalty with Miles. I feel like he really wants to be a Charlotte Hornet.
Yeah.
Him and LaMelo are boys. I think his teammates want him here.
I think they got something to prove.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll see, man.
We'll see. I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that we resign Miles.
It's just a question of how much.
So then the question is, now you got PJ on a restricted free agent, possibly a rookie extension deal.
Here's the curveball.
Kelly Oubre, Dennis Smith Jr.
Here's a curveball, and here's something that's I'm talking about. This is pretty fresh. The new CBA has been rewritten.
That's right.
Now we got to talk about this boring stuff real quick. Y'all bear with us real quick because I know this CBA negotiation stuff is not the most exciting stuff to talk about, but it matters because what's happening now is that I'm not explaining this probably 100% appropriately, but what's happening with the next CBA is that teams are now going to have this second wave of a luxury tax. I forget what they call it, but what that means is when you go over that cap, you're going to get penalized a lot more. Why am I saying this? Because with all the contracts coming up for the Hornets, they're going to be well over the cap if they want to re-sign everybody. So now you have to really do some planning and some forecasting and saying, look, how many of these guys do I realistically want to sign? Because that extra blanket of a luxury tax, that's going to change the NBA, y'all. Listen to me right now. We're not going to see 3 superstars on one team in the next 5 or 6 years. I'm telling y'all right now. And I know, again, the CBA negotiated stuff is boring. It's not what fans really care about. But just know that this next wave of this next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see a drastic change in the NBA. Hopefully what comes out of this is more parity and more teams like the Charlotte Hornets can have a better chance of being competitive. I just want to throw that out there. So,
yeah, I absolutely agree. The league has needed to go closer to a hard cap for a while now.
And Adrian Wojnarowski said basically it's not called a hard cap, but this is as close to a hard cap as you're going to see in the NBA.
You got to make the penalty so high that owners will say, ugh,
can't do that.
I don't know. Because, okay, so right now, Golden State is paying, almost $500 million with all the luxury tax and the penalties they currently play.
Right.
So apparently that's not even enough of a deterrent for and think about it.
That's the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, why would you break that team? Like, yeah, I'll pay $500 million. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
You're close. Think of how much in revenue the Golden State Warriors make every season,
and plus their TV deal is astronomical too. But
so some people feel like that's a detriment to teams like the Charlotte Hornets because the only way for a team like Charlotte to really build is to develop through the draft, develop our own guys, which I feel like they've been doing since Mitch
got here. Yeah.
We've done the best with what we got, the 13th pick here, the 14th pick here, the 9th pick, and then we ended up getting LaMelo Ball. We're developing those guys, and now it's time to pay those guys.
Right.
But, if it gets to a point where, well, you can't pay because Golden State, their core, they drafted. Those are guys they drafted. So now our buddy Vince said this, they're being penalized
for drafting well.
Yeah. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think you've got to spread the talent around the league. So one of the big debates when it comes to and I don't want to get sidetracked here, but one of the big things when it comes to the GOAT debate, LeBron versus Jordan, whoever, is you look at the respective eras that they played in.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at the teams that LeBron played in the finals versus the teams Jordan played in the finals. And LeBron, to his credit, has always played against other teams that were also had big threes.
Big threes. Right.
I mean, every team has to be competitive in today's NBA, you got to have 3 stars or at least,
2.5 at least.
Yeah, 2 or 3 guys, maybe a generational talent. Back when Jordan played, that wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, you could have think about the Seattle team. That was a good Seattle team that gets lost in the annals of time. But they had Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. Who else they have?
And a bunch of guys.
Yeah, Xavier McDaniels.
Daniel Strip was pretty good, but he wasn't Gary Payton.
So I think I don't think that it was a case of people will say, well, nowadays there's just more talent in the NBA. I don't know if that's the case. No. I just think that because of this was back then, it was very hard to team hop and build
because of how the CBA was written. Yeah,
come the 2000s. That changed, and then you started to see a lot of team hopping, and the structure of teams was a lot different. I just think that the talent right now is not as spread out. You've got you're always going to have LA, Miami, Boston, Chicago. You're always going to have these teams that are just always going to have superstars. Always. The Lakers, after LeBron,
rides off to the sunset, there's gonna be another superstar.
They're gonna be trash for like 2 years, and then
Zion's gonna say, enough of this New Orleans stuff.
Then they're gonna be a championship contender again. That's how it is with the Lakers.
That's how it is. Yeah.
So I think that this would be good for the Hornets
in terms of spreading parity throughout the league. Yeah, no doubt.
So, and especially now, speaking of parity. The Miami Heat.
Are y'all ready for a Heat Nuggets finals?
The Miami Heat. What's going on with it? Well, okay, so
the Heat just kind of blew up the argument about having to have stars on the team because, damn it.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Jimmy Butler, man.
Time out. What am I thinking about? Because that dude is 2 stars.
Yeah. Jimmy
and
Butler.
Bam Adebayo ain't that bad, but go ahead, bro.
I talk about this all the time on the show. Sometimes you got to have a player that just says,
F it, I'm the guy.
Hold up. I'm the best player.
I'm the best player.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and let me get this win.
Right.
And then at that point, all you need is just a little bit of support.
Yep.
When I think about
not just support, but specifically guys who play their damn roles.
Bro, yep.
And don't try to get out of that.
That's why Golden State lost to LA. Steph Curry was like, I'm the best player out here, and he played like it, but everyone else was like
we forgot how to play.
Yeah, I guess I can hit a 3.
Jordan Poole.
Right.
Forgot how to play. Yeah.
That's not happening in Miami.
Right.
That last game, they were actively they were like, where's Jimmy?
Right.
Give Jimmy the ball. The Celtics were doing everything they could to keep the ball out of Jimmy Butler's hands.
Wasn't working.
And then when they were able to successfully make sure he didn't get the ball,
everybody else stepped up.
Kyle Lowry, as much as I hate Kyle Lowry, I got a root for the Miami Heat this season. But I hate that dude. But I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do, right?
Man. He's stepping up. Yeah.
And all of the prominent players for the Miami Heat are undrafted guys.
It's crazy, man.
Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson. I mean, that just goes to show. I will say this, because a lot of people talk about
Max Strus,
the failings of the Charlotte Hornets. And although I firmly believe that luck is a more important factor in a successful franchise than anything else.
Don't get me started.
Yep. The San Antonio Spurs were they were a pretty good Western Conference team in the 90s.
Right.
They had David Robinson,
and he goes down with a leg injury,
and then they get the can't miss pick, and now the championships start rolling in. Okay, however, the Miami Heat is the example as far as I'm concerned, even more so than the Spurs.
Right.
I mean,
expound. I want to hear this.
You could say that. The Spurs have been more successful in the last 20 years because they've won more championships. But look at the Miami Heat. First of all, the Spurs have Greg Popovich. Eric Spoelstra is finally getting
the dude that he should have got a long time ago.
And a lot of people felt like when they won those championships with LeBron and Chris Bosh and D Wade, well, anybody could coach those guys, which is true.
However, my counter argument to that is I think a coach will tell you, this ain't Jamal talking. I think a coach will say this. You know how difficult it is to manage egos on a basketball team?
Yes.
Phil Jackson has said countless amount of times how hard it was coaching Shaq and Kobe, Michael and Scotty and Dennis. Countless. So it's not the easiest thing in the world to coach 3 huge egos and 3 huge
Absolutely.
talents. Yeah.
In the fact that they have so many undrafted players that are playing well, that could go to other teams and get big contracts, is just a testament to they're doing something right in Miami.
I think the culture has everything. And I think the underrated kind of figure when it comes to the Miami Heat as far as building that coach is Pat Riley. Riley has built
absolutely
an incredible coach. I said this years ago, like, look, man, I as a just strictly basketball fan, I hate the Miami Heat because I'm supposed to. But as an objective basketball guy, I've said this countless amount of times. If the Hornets want to mimic a culture that they should follow, it's that damn team. Hey, it is what it is, man. Eric Spoelstra started off as a film guy, not a scout, not an assistant coach,
right?
Not someone who was on the a film guy. All right, that just lets you know that team is mimicking what they saw in that coach. That dude has worked his ass off to become the figure he is with the Heat. And I think the players, they look at that as an example. You know
Absolutely.
What I'm saying?
Yeah. If I'm Charlotte, I look at what the Heat are doing.
Yeah,
what are they doing right? Who are their scouts?
Right.
Who are their training staff? Their doctor. Lord knows we need new doctors in Charlotte.
Right.
Having said that, does Boston have a chance?
I don't think so.
No one has ever won a series after losing the first 2 games at home. It's never happened.
Look, man, they have a chance, a very low one at that. I'm gonna tell you, look, man, Miami. Let me reel myself in. I want to relate this to the Charlotte Hornets real quick. Okay, I want to relate this real quick, and I want y'all to follow me. The Boston Celtics, when in the last season or two, especially, whenever the Hornets play the Celtics kick our ass. And you could easily say, oh, well, the Celtics is just a better team. They're more talented. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But you know why I think that happens? I think there is a mental edge that the Celtics have over the Hornets. And the Hornets are not there yet in terms of attitude and understanding what it takes to win on a championship level. And I'm talking about the players. Don't come at me with this Mitch and MJ stuff right now. I'm talking about the players don't know what it takes to get to that next step of competing with the Bostons and whoever, right? The Miami Heat, hey, y'all can come at me. I don't care. I don't think the Miami Heat are just insanely more talented than the Charlotte Hornets. Yeah. I don't care how much you disagree. That team on paper is not so much better than the Hornets on paper. But you know why they're sitting here 2-0 against the Celtics? Because they have the right attitude and the right temperament to compete with the Boston Celtics. Now, Jimmy Butler obviously is Jimmy Butler. Do not get it twisted, okay? But he elevates the rest of those, the Max Struces and the Duncan Robinsons, the Cody Zellers, the Caleb Martins. Those guys are what I'm talking about. I say all that to say they're not scared of the Boston Celtics. No, and that's big. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? They probably feel like we're in control of the series and we're going to win. That's something that's missing here.
You think Boston didn't underestimate them? Miami's a playing team. They actually lost a playing game.
Right.
You think Boston's not thinking, especially, considering that they went to the finals last season? Yeah,
you know what incident sums up what I just said? Grant Williams getting in Jimmy Butler's face.
Why would you do that?
Why you do that, bro?
Y'all know what playoff Jimmy
You
does.
embarrassing Charlotte, Grant Williams.
Yeah, don't do that, man. Don't do that. So from one series to the other, by the way, I think Miami closes this out in 6. I'm gonna give Boston.
I'm gonna give Boston 2 games.
Two more games.
Yeah,
2 games.
Same.
But I'm not giving the Lakers 1.
Lakers going home tomorrow, bro.
They getting swept.
They getting home tomorrow. They going home.
I don't understand. So because I watched every game, every minute of both LA and Golden State and Phoenix and Denver. And I remember saying on this show before the playoffs started, I don't trust Denver.
We both said it.
And I was dumb to say that.
Same.
I was very stupid.
Me and Kaz, before the show started, we said, we're going to take this L on Denver. Yeah.
I was very stupid to say that. And after I watched the Phoenix series.
Start changing a little bit.
Yeah. And I thought, watching Golden State, LA, I was like, man, these guys are playing to the death just for the opportunity
to get beat by
to get destroyed by the Denver Nuggets. I couldn't see how Golden State or LA was going to beat Denver.
Right.
Because a lot of people will say, well, Denver's not a good defensive. Damn it, they don't need to be. Do you first of all, you're not going to stop Nikola Jokic. It's just not going
to. We knew that already, right?
It's just not going to happen.
Right. We knew that about. We knew that
this man is averaging a triple-double in the damn playoffs.
Damn near getting them in the first half.
Yeah.
But however, props to that light-skinned dude named Jamal, boy. Good God almighty. Man. This dude.
Hey, and that was always the X factor. A lot of pundits were saying, okay, well, what is Jamal Murray going to give you, though? You know what Nikola Jokic is going to give you. But Murray is like... He's
the anomaly. He's like...
So now the Lakers have the worst problem ever. Who do you focus... First of all, let me say this. Everyone that thought that the Lakers had some kind of magic adjustment... at the end of game one.
Well, we didn't play our best game. We only lost by 2 the first game. Now, Darvingham will figure it out.
Yeah,
really?
You're going to put Rui, who, by the way, I would hate to be a Washington Wizards fan
I would be throwing my TV out the window if I was a Wizards fan.
We as Charlotte fans, we felt this. Watching Boris Diaw, I'm like this.
Just become motivated all of a sudden.
Yeah. Tyson Chandler. I mean, the list goes on.
Right.
Nick Batum.
Right.
But yeah, Rui Hachimura has played a fantastic series. But I feel like, okay, Anthony Davis, one of the best defenders in the league, and you don't want to put him one-on-one against Jokic. Like your plan is to have him roam the paint. What does that say about AD?
So let me look, man. I'm not an NBA coach. I just go off what I see. But I'm gonna tell you why that transpired. Fourth quarter of that first game. Let me repeat. The fourth quarter of that first game, where Jokic already had a damn triple-double in the first half, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, you're gonna be a little fatigued in the fourth quarter. You're not gonna be the same guy. And I don't take anything away from Rui Hachimura. He did a decent job on Jokic in that fourth quarter. However, it is still Nikola Jokic, and to think that they were going to get away with Hachimura guarding Jokic the rest of the series is silly, man. It's silly. Dude, you know what great players do? You know how we always talk about coaches make adjustments? Guess what good players do? They make adjustments too, y'all.
Exactly.
Jokic finally said, you know what? I'm giving up like 75 pounds to this dude. I'm giving up 6 inches to this dude. Let me go do what I do.
Exactly.
It's over, bro.
It's, yeah. The size advantage the Lakers had over Golden State, I thought, first of all, that's not going to work. Yeah. There's not going to be that huge free throw discrepancy like there was against Golden State.
Right.
I just didn't see how they would win. And LeBron is not, LeBron could play another 5 years and be a 26-7 guy, right?
Right.
But he's not the same
he ain't
LeBron.
God mode LeBron.
Clearly, in the playoffs, you could tell, like, he's tired, man.
He looks old.
Yeah.
He does. That's just no shade, but he just looks like a 37-year-old, 38-year-old dude now, man.
Yeah, so this is.
I don't. This thing is over tomorrow, bro.
Oh yeah. Well, first, it's over regardless.
Yeah.
But I think Denver gonna close it out, and that'll be it.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. It's easy for us to talk about Jokic and Murray, obviously, man. But God, man, these other guys, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he's out for blood. He's like, y'all gave up on me. Okay.
Biggest X factor, Michael Porter Jr. And it's funny because you know how Charlotte fans feel like we should have drafted him. And the Hornets absolutely made the right choice. And Michael Porter Jr., because of the injury, has not lived up to that lofty potential that he has, but he has developed into a really good piece for the Nuggets.
My point is this: he's the best fit with the Nuggets.
Oh, absolutely,
he is. Yeah. He's a great fit with them. I think that is a marriage that is perfect.
Absolutely,
I do. props to them. But that doesn't mean we got the wrong guy.
Congratulations, Denver, on your first ever NBA championship.
Denver and Miami. And show me the person who bet on that. It's a rich dude.
Jimmy Butler playing like the bubble Jimmy Butler. Remember he did this in 2020.
Yeah.
He carried the Heat all the way through.
Yep.
As I don't remember what seed they were, but
it wasn't top 3.
Right.
Yeah.
And so maybe he can get the job done this time. That's actually going to be, for basketball fans, that's going to be a great series.
It is.
For everyone else,
Casual's going to sit this one out.
They're going to sit it out.
Yeah.
But
that's going to be a really good series.
It's going to be a really good series. I really want to watch that. Maybe the power of Rachel Nichols will prevail. I heard somebody say, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it.
We're here, so
I heard somebody said that Jimmy Butler was the only player that played in 2 bubbles at the same time.
I'm so glad we're not FCC sanctioned, man.
That's why
we're just not gonna.
We're not gonna be on the big networks.
So
I'm cool with that.
We're cool.
All right.
As long as y'all keep up with us, we all right.
They said that man was. They said it was a noise complaint, loud banging noise.
Room service.
Yep. They said when security went to his room, he answered the door drenched in sweat. Rachel Nichols was later seen on the same floor. I'm just saying, if that's what it takes to win a championship,
whatever has to be done.
Whatever. Come to Charlotte, baby. We about to get YouTube about to.
Oh, but YouTube's gonna ban us and then we're done, bro.
Who on the Heat is guarding Joker? That's a good one.
Bam. Hey, look. Bam is a really, really good defender. Don't get it twisted. He got his work cut out for him when it comes to this dude, though. Yeah.
All right, man. Shout outs.
Oh man, do I have any shout outs? Oh man. Shout at to shitty developers in Charlotte, North Carolina once again. Story time. I had just graduated high school. You know how that feeling is when you just graduate high school. You're just like, oh, what am I going to do now?
Right.
And my mama said, you ain't going to sit in this house all summer.
Get your ass
out. Get your ass out. You're going to do something. My mom walked next door because she worked at this place called the Thompson Children's Center. And the Johnston YMCA was right next door. She walked over there. She said, my son need a job. My mama got me this job at the Johnston YMCA. That was my first little job after high school. I formed lifelong friendships. Like I had the boss that I worked for turned into like my big sister. And there was like maybe 4 or 5 people to this day that I still talk to on the regular. I formed like family at the Johnston YMCA. Why am I telling y'all this? Because in true Charlotte fashion, the Johnston YMCA will close down next month. For what? For some damn apartments. Again. Johnston YMCA has been in that community for a decade, at least 20 years, because it was 20 years ago when I worked there. So for at least 20 years, this has been an institution in NoDa. Before it was NoDa, when it was just North Charlotte.
North Davidson.
Davidson Street, North Charlotte. And now we have to say goodbye to the Johnston YMCA because nasty, greedy, soulless developers have decided, we need more overpriced apartments.
Yeah.
Happy trails, Johnston YMCA.
This is like a weekly story.
Yeah, man.
I mean, really, another mainstay, another old brick building going to get torn down for, by the way, there are apartments in NoDa, right? There are
plenty.
People live there already.
Plenty, right? Yeah. Plenty.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that all these people with money in Charlotte, someone can just swoop in, right, and save the day.
Somebody can say, you know what, Charlotte needs some soul again.
Yes.
Let's build something cool again.
Our culture is that we have no culture. That's weird. That's
our culture is we're still trying to find it, and we don't have an identity anymore.
We'll never find it. So.
Oh boy, under construction indeed.
Yep. My shout out, the Queen Riri.
Yeah. Shout out to Rihanna.
Looking fine and pregnant, rocking a Panthers jersey.
I knew she was cooler than Beyonce. I knew it.
And it wasn't just any.
Why did I say that?
Was it just any Panthers jersey?
It
was inaugural season.
It was what was 95?
It was 95.
Yeah.
It was the jerseys that you could only get during their first season.
Right.
Had Panthers on the
had
back.
The big numbers on
yeah,
it.
Had the big. Yeah. I don't know where she got it. And she did have a Kerry Collins jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Baby, that's not the move.
That's not.
I got some extra Steve Smiths for you.
Hey,
Julius Peppers. Yeah.
Rihanna hollers. We got some
Rihanna, I will buy you a new jersey. Kerry Collins is not the move. But I get it. She wanted to be old school. She was probably like a little ass kid when Kerry Collins played for the Panthers. Yeah. But props to her, man, putting us on the map.
Yeah, no
somehow.
Doubt. Giving us some national recognition. Exactly. We'll take it, man.
Like it's funny. Like Steph Curry is the biggest, most famous Panthers fan ever, right? But he be like, "Yo, Panthers people like, oh, Steph Curry." Rihanna wear a Panthers jersey,
and the internet loses its mind.
Twitter goes crazy. Yep. So, but she like him young, and maybe she's like, "Ooh, Bryce Young." Stop it. He got a little light skinned dude mustache thing going. He looked like he might be in DeBarge, like.
Hey, sorry. You're trying to say A$AP Rocky better watch yourself?
Yeah, I'm like,
just tread lightly.
A$AP Rocky he might
tread lightly, bro.
Bryce about to get that bag. Just saying.
That's athlete money too.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
We are terrible, absolutely terrible.
All right, y'all. That's gonna do it for us this week.
Yeah, that probably should do it for us this week.
That's gonna do it. Who playing tonight?
Who is tonight? Boston, Miami's tonight.
Oh, okay.
Game 3. Yeah.
Game 3. All right, I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah, same. Same. We'll see.
In Miami, that's what's gonna make it crazy, right? You take a 2-0 lead into your home court. That's crazy.
Just out of basketball respect, I got Boston winning tonight. I do. I think they respond tonight. I still don't have them winning series, but I got Boston winning.
Yeah, I think they win tonight, and I think they lose
next game.
Game 4.
Yep.
And then it's just a formality at that point. Although we've seen teams come back from 3-1, but normally when teams do that, something extraordinary has to happen.
Right.
Somebody get injured or suspended or something like that. If that doesn't happen, then Lakers definitely ain't coming back.
Ain't coming back.
No one's ever come back from 3-0 deficit.
It ain't happening now.
And it was, last night during the post game was one of the first times I've ever seen LeBron James just look flustered.
Defeated.
When he was down 3-1 to Golden State,
yeah,
it was like he knew something we didn't know.
Right.
I don't see that.
He ain't the same guy. I mean, that's not shade. I mean, LeBron James is on the Mount Rushmore basketball. I'm not hating on the dude
because he knows that. Okay, let's say the Lakers pull off the impossible, win a championship.
Right.
AD is probably the MVP.
Right.
I think LeBron James knows that. He's okay with that, and he's like, "Look, I'm going to go out. I'm going to impact the game without putting up big numbers."
Right.
But that's not going to work against Denver.
It's not, man.
So
and look, and again, no shade, but we've already said that's gonna run out of steam at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's been picking and choosing his spots in his battles all season, and at some point, it's gonna run out.
Well, Charlotte Lakers fans,
Mecklenburg County Lakers fans.
Yep, be disappointed. Yep. Oh well,
I got to hear from y'all too. Another 5 seasons.
Oh,
I can't wait for that part. I'm definitely waiting on that part.
Hurricanes, do something, man.
Please win a damn game at this point. Please.
In hockey, coming back from big deficits is not a big deal. A lot of teams come back from 3-1, 3-0 deficits, but you're the better team. Play like it.
Play like it, no doubt.
All right, that's gonna do it for us this week. I'm gonna go have some adult beverages. Y'all should do the same.
Me too.
Y'all have a good night. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace out.